What's up, Bills fans? It's Mark here. Haven't done one of these in a really long time. I believe last one I could have done was 18 for the big 18 QB class. Not 100% sure if I did, but I definitely did one for 13 for that QB debacle that happened that year. We did end up with the pick that I had originally went with, which was Matt Barkley. And the year prior, I got the Stephon Gilmore pick on March 21st or 2nd, I believe. So I'm going to try to best it on January 27th, 2020. I'm going to try to nail and predict the Bills' first round draft pick. Picking a lot lower than those years. Um, at least in 18 where they had to trade up, make a couple of maneuvers to get up to select, which was eventually Josh Allen. This year, not going to I don't think we're going to see any trading up. If anything, I think we're going to see maybe, it always requires a dance partner, a trade down possibly to acquire another day two pick, hopefully, and one next year. That would be ideal. To punt, even have extra ammo. Always nice and comforting to know you have something lined up for the following year. Offers you more flexibility that way. Your draft decisions, this and that, lets you plan ahead better. But let's stick to the task at hand, the topic at hand. The Bills pick at number 22 as it stands right now. I'm not going to do any, as we stand right now, the pick isn't traded, so I'm not even going to bother doing that. So what I did was the same thing I did in 2012, even in 13. You knew quarterback was going to be the pick in 13 pretty much just by the way everything was, all the smoke, especially in 18. But in 12, it was a little different with the Gilmore pick. There was some different needs, different positions. There was O-line, there was pass rusher, and the way I did that was I looked at the position, I looked at the age of the position, the money allocated to or not to the positions, and I kind of looked at the prospects. Everybody felt Maurice Claiborne was the de facto number one corner. I really didn't see that. I felt like he was an okay prospect. I felt Gilmore's best football was ahead of him. He had more length, more size, better athlete than Maurice Claiborne was and is. So he was kind of a later bloomer at the time, and I really felt like he was going to be the pick, and I was able to get it. And I'm going to do the same this year, hopefully. And I did the same. I went through the same process. I looked at the team, looked at the position groups, the need, money allocated to or not to, um, the draft, of course, the strength of it, the weaknesses of it, some little bit with the free agency class too, knowing how this regime is not going to be reckless, carefree with their free agent dollars. It's going to be used more for in-house guys and, kind of hanging on a little bit for the draft, for potential moves you might want to do late in the summer, September maybe, if you want to, go get a guy who got released. Maybe you could outbid somebody for that particular guy. But so I weighed all that in, and then I looked at the players, the in particular players I earmarked, and it was a little laborious. I mean, it took me about a week and a half to kind of pin it down. I think the low-hanging fruit right now for the Buffalo Bills, the consensus pick is at wide receiver, and I just don't see that. I see that as a strength of the draft. I think the Bills are going to play to the strength of the draft, as any smart team will, and they'll wait on a guy. I think they'll want their receiver to come in and just kind of be eased into the role as opposed to being shoehorned into it. Everybody expecting the world right away. And if that happens, great. If he comes in as a world beater, nobody's going to complain about that. But I think they're going to want to, ease him in and make sure he earns everything he gets and is able to handle everything as well, as opposed to like behooving the player. Offensive line, I see that it's a pretty decently deep position, offers a unique range of guys, more top heavy than anything. And I look at what the Bills value there, position flex, versatility, their needs at offensive line right now. I feel like they're going to add a couple more offensive linemen, particularly a veteran and possibly another rookie. So, but I don't think that'll be allocated to the first round draft pick. Defensive end, pass rusher, maybe hybrid. You still got Lorenzo's, maybe replacements. What are they going to do with Shaq? I've stated my feelings on social media. I don't think the Bills are going to end up re-signing any of them, whether it's Phillips, Shaq, or Quentin Spain. I don't think any of them are going to be re-signed unless it's at the Bills number. So I don't think that they'll use that pick for a pass rusher. I really don't. I don't think they're going to use the 22nd overall pick for a pass rusher. I think it's a top heavy also, but there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of diversity to it. So what I ended up landing on here was I looked at the team. I looked at the type of player that they like, and I weighed everything into it. The history of even McDermott, where he comes from, different things like that, the types of players he likes in his team, his defense in particular. I looked at, Bean, similar things. I looked at, the three I's, the football identity, the football IQ, and the football intensity. The one I don't get much. I really don't. I am not one of these people that claim to get inside this and have people to, I really don't. I get a tidbit here and there, a crumb. But the one thing I did get was upgrading the physicality of the football team across the board. Obviously on both lines of scrimmage, the receiving corps, and in the secondary. And valuing position flexibility. Okay. Feeling like their best football was still ahead of them, that there was room for growth. We do know that the Bills coaching staff prides itself in being able to coach up players, to develop players. We do know that. A guy, Bills DNA, process, Bills DNA, all football, all the time, all business, humble beginnings, humble, hungry. A chess piece, a guy that can be used in a multitude of ways. He's not, again, pigeonholed into one area. Can play here, can play there, can play here, can be used here. Different phases of the team. And it really, when I came down to it, and I pared it down, this one guy really stood out above the rest. And I looked at some of the guys the Bills have drafted in recent drafts, this particular regime, where they come from. And I'm just going to get to it with the 22nd pick in the 2020 draft. The Buffalo Bills select Kyle Duggar, defensive back, Lenoir-Rhyne University. And again, people say, oh, what are you doing? He's a third, fourth round guy. Hold on. You're reading some of the pundits. All of a sudden, draft media are starting to pick up, oh, this guy's a riser. But I think they're starting to ascertain is that NFL scouts, NFL draft people like this guy a lot more than they think. Now, each team's vision of him is a little different. Some people view him as a big nickel safety, maybe a jack nickelback, which is basically like the mold of Mark Barron. I don't see the Bills viewing him as that. I see the Bills view him, and he did play this in his first 2 years there, freshman and some as sophomore, as a perimeter corner, a boundary corner, because he has a lot of length. He's got a 78-inch wingspan, 33-inch arms, 6'1", 217. Has been said to run in the low 4.4s, 11-foot broad, over 40-inch vert. So the athletic skills, as a huge athletic background in terms of his family, kind of a late bloomer, didn't get hardly any scholarship offers, only 3 D2, and his ability, far-ranging, is something I believe and I know that they covet. A guy who's a chess piece, a guy who can line up in a multitude of ways, because we all know that this league is a sub-package league now. It's a nickel league. And this guy, his willingness, his want to, his effectiveness in being able to play both the pass and the run, support the run, is a massive benefit. And I see that he would be a guy that they would 100% love to have on their defense, and he would not be the kind of player that they could procure in the later rounds. I just don't see another player like him in this draft at that position. And the fact that they get him on the field so fast in their base defense and their sub packages on special teams, both in coverage, the blocking units, the kick blocking units, the return unit. He was an amazing punt returner, kick returner for Lenoir-Rhyne. Holds most of their records. He definitely a guy. He has a good feel once he gets the ball in his hands. Can make people miss. Can use his physicality to break tackles. I really feel like this is a guy that they see as a 2 and a 3 for. Like, you have a guy like this on your football team, it allows you to open up different areas of your roster when you have to make decisions on the 53 and then the game day 46. You can carry that extra receiver, right? You can carry that extra lineman or corner because you have a guy like this who does a plethora of things. And I just feel like he really fits that Bills DNA. McDermott, small school, William & Mary, defensive back, not even has a tenth of the physical ability and attributes a guy like Kyle Duggar has. And just a humble, small town, super small school guy. You guys might want to go look at some of the schools and some of the highlights and different cut-ups of his games. These stadiums were not even equivalent of high school stadiums. But yet he kept at it and kept at it and kept at it, and gets invited to the Senior Bowl, invited to the Combine. A guy that's just, he just oozes Bills DNA, and a guy that they would just love to have, and a guy that I look at that is unlike any other player in the draft and not a readily available player in the secondary. And his versatility there, I believe that they will, much like they did with Tremaine Edmunds, people didn't know what they were going to do with him. Is he going to be a hand in the dirt linebacker in the 3-4 edge rusher type elephant position, or is he going to be off the ball linebacker, on the ball linebacker? Bills said, nope, he's our middle linebacker, he's our Mike linebacker, and they stay true to it and really feel strong in their staff's ability to get him. And he's done well in that regard, and he even got better this year. And I feel like the same with this guy too. So again, probably people are going to be a lot of roaring and shouting, shooting me down. Oh, what are you doing taking a guy that can get in the 3rd and 4th round? Again, I see him in a lot of people's top 100s right now, and you know how this goes. It's going to just keep going up. It doesn't descend unless some crazy something off the field happens. It's going to just be a steady linear ascent, and you have in a draft maybe 16, just because there's 32 picks in the first round doesn't mean you have first round grades on 32 players. I believe what I heard this year was 16 to 18 first round grades on guys. People are going to be taking quarterbacks. Obviously, as we know, there's a big glut of linemen, top heavy receiver with like 2 to 3 guys. And I just feel like when you get into that funny area of 20, 21, 22 and below, that's that you see that Hayden Hurst pick, that Garrett Bradbury pick. You see those type of guys taken in those zones. Even though the Bills got Trey White down at 27, you can still get a very, very good football player in those areas. And I just feel like that this guy just does so much for them on defense from the rip. He just comes right off the bus again, off the rip, and just is all over their units, defense, special teams, sub package, you name it. All right, Bills fans, let me know what you think. I know a lot of people are gonna maybe be a little bit like taken aback by the pick. Maybe you like, whoa, maybe I made you think a little bit. Maybe I got you on board with it. Got you turning your gears a little bit, because I do feel like the receiver is the low-hanging fruit. It's not the pick that makes you think. It's like the, just the dead brain pick. Like, oh, they need a receiver. Here's a receiver. No. I think you have to look at your team, look at the strengths, the weaknesses of the draft class, and kind of play to it. And then look at the guys who are making the picks, look at their history, look at the type of players and people that they value. That was another thing. They're just as much about drafting chess pieces as they are players, and they're just as much about drafting the person as they are the player. So that's huge with the Bills. Guys that fit into their culture, their locker room, and this kid, seamless. He is all them. Humble, hungry, but hyper super competitive. He has to be. Look where he comes from. Look at all he's been through to get to this point. He's all football, all business. One interview I listened to him, when he was talking about, like, he started to get a lot of the draft buzz, a lot of the people trying to get at him. This was 2 weeks ago. This interview was done, and the thing that he said that really just jumped off the page and resonated with me is he said he turned his phone off. And that's like, to me, boom, he turned his phone off. Whereas a lot of guys would have took their phone and just started engaging with it and becoming more sympathetic, dominant, and just, gassing themselves up and building up a false facade of themselves. And now he decompressed, turned his phone off, and said, I still had to focus on other things, more important things, mainly my team, myself, and, staying true to the work that got me to this point and working even harder. So I was just, oh my God, does this guy scream it? Process. All right, Bills fans, let me know what you think. I know I'm shooting my shot early at this this date, but I think outside of some meetings at Indy, few visits at the facility, a medical here and there, I think scouts have a really good idea at this point who these guys are and aren't for the most part. And I'm shooting my shot. Bills select Kyle Dugger, defensive back from Lenoir-Rhyne. Again, I see that they view him as a boundary corner, not a safety, not a hybrid lineman. Again, a boundary corner. Again, can play a lot of areas in their secondary. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy. Love you all. Go Bills. And don't flame me too hard, but I love the feedback and the interaction. Always. Thank you, guys.